Friends, welcome to this short notice meeting. I know it's bad weather outside. You have to brave slippery roads and a lot of snow. I'm glad you were able to make it here. When I drove in, I thought that at least the scenery was beautiful. It looked like picture postcards, winter wonderland. So I said there is some compensation. When you have bad weather, it can be beautiful bad weather also. So I saw this combination, that how the good and the bad go together. And suddenly I thought of an email I received this morning, from New Zealand, from somebody who was initiated by a master many years ago and who was practicing his meditation with due diligence, got beautiful results in meditation, saw the radiant form of his master, and was very happy and had other inner experiences. After all that beautiful experience, he ran into another video and a book by Baba Fakir Chand. Now, Baba Fakir Chand is one of the saints who claimed that he would do nothing. In fact, his biography is published is called The Unknowing Saint. And he claimed that the masters know nothing. Everything you get is from within yourself. That the masters do not even project their radiant form in you. You project the radiant form yourself. And he gave an example, Baba Fakir Chand gave an example of his own life when he was in the military. And so were some of his disciples. And there, one day, 3 of his disciples were suddenly surrounded by the enemy on all 4 sides. And they knew they are going to be killed. So they sat together and prayed, Babaji, this is the time when we are going to be killed by the enemy. As a last resort, we want to pray to you. Please take care of us, take us to Sachkhand as soon as we die. Please help us. At that time, Babaji appeared, almost in a physical form, standing right in front of them. And he said, don't worry, you are not going to die today. Don't worry, there is behind this small tree a little bush. Under the bush there is a tunnel. If you go in the tunnel, you will go behind the enemy lines and just escape. Go and take the tunnel and come out, and I will see you. And then he disappeared. They marveled at the power of the master, that he could do this. They looked behind, and under the bush there was a tunnel. They went through the tunnel and escaped, were not killed. They were so grateful to the master for sparing their life. They ran to him and said, Master, thank you very much for saving our life. He said, what happened? They said, you came and you told us about the tunnel and we came. He said, I know nothing about it. I was not there. I was myself very frightened of being killed myself. And what are you talking about? They said, Master, you yourself came to us. We saw you. All 3 of us saw you. And not only we saw you, you directed us to a tunnel nobody could have known. And you saved our life. And don't be so humble and pretend you don't know. He said, the truth is I don't know. That masters know nothing. Then he made general statements. That masters really come as projections of the self. And the whole secret is in the self. Whatever you will find within yourself. Even the radiant form of the master that you find is within yourself. And therefore, why masters appear outside is to generate the kind of faith that you can discover who you are and go within. Therefore, he said, I know nothing, masters know nothing. And if a master says he is doing everything, he is no master. He made such dramatic statements which led to a lot of controversy. Do masters really have any power? Or are they mere shadows of the self? And they're just projecting themselves to take you inside, and the whole secret is inside. This question about Baba Fakir Chand, who people say was the only honest master because he confessed that he knew nothing. All others claim that they have all the powers of a master. They say he is the honest master. But then they question, what about all the other perfect living masters who initiated people? And the people saw their radiant forms. And didn't they really see the radiant form of the master? Didn't the master have any hand in it? As it happens, I have met Baba Fakir Chand personally several times. He was our neighbor in Ishwar Puri. My father was teaching there. He was a good friend of my father. And we met him several times. And we even discussed this incident with Baba Fakir Chand personally. So that I had some personal knowledge. And he explained why he said all those things. He said, the reason I say this is because when people begin to follow masters, they don't do any meditation. They think just following that person is good enough. And therefore, he overemphasized the fact that the truth lies within yourself. Even the master lies within yourself. After all this creation that we see outside is a projection from inside. If the whole creation is a projection from inside, surely a physical master is also a projection from inside, which means the truth is that the perfect living master we talk about is inside us, not outside. But we cannot see him. If we close our eyes, we see darkness. Therefore, the projected master who appears outside functions exactly like the master inside. And yet at the same time, he is just a shadow of the master inside. He is not only a shadow, he is a very active shadow, because by listening to him, by following what he says, by getting initiated by him, we find the true master within ourselves. Therefore, at all times, the true master is within us. He emphasized this point that he knew nothing, just to make a point that don't follow human beings just blindly. Listen to what they say. Follow what they are saying. And you will find the truth inside, including the true master. Because the radiant form of the master is the master who takes you back home. And that radiant form of the master is inside us, not outside. But he resembles the one outside so much that we can have a link. Why does he resemble so much? Because he is outside. He is the projected form outside. Therefore, it's very difficult to say which one should we follow, the outside or the inside. The fact is, we should follow the inside. Can we follow the inside without the outside? No way. Then it comes back to the same thing, that we have to follow a physical living master outside who can talk to us, who can teach us, who can answer our questions, who can guide us, who can tell us when we are wrong and when we are right on the path, who can tell us all the details of the journey we are going to have, who can encourage us to go within, who can time and again help us with means to go within. But after he has done all that, we find that the master who will be with us for all time and is permanent is inside us. And that's the radiant form of the master we find within ourselves. So there's a role for the master outside and there's a role for the master inside. And because it's a projection, actually it's the same. In fact, one perfect living master has said, Bahar bhitar eko jano, yahi guru gyan bataya, which translated means the inside and the outside are the same. That's what I learned from my master. Do not think that the outside is separate and you have to run away from it, that there's a created world outside sitting objectively and we have to run away from it and go somewhere else inside. The outside projected world is also being projected from inside, and it's an inside world that we see outside. But it looks so real outside. It has all the elements of external reality. It becomes physically real. Therefore, in the physical reality, which our mind accepts, that the world outside is real, we have to search for something very abstract, something very unknown inside. Since we think like that, therefore the outside world becomes the reality for us, and we search for other realities inside without ever leaving the notion that the world outside and our physical body here is the only reality we know. And that is why, because we take the outside world as real, we have to take the outside master also as real. Though the outside master is projected from inside and is working exactly as the inside master is doing. There is no difference between the two. So this is a very strange kind of enigma for people, that while we take this physical world to be real, and we can't help it, we have no other reality to compare it with. This is the only reality we know. Of course, when we go to sleep, we create another temporary reality called a dream. A dreamland is also a reality while we are dreaming. It is no longer a reality when we wake up. This physical world, which we are taking as the only reality, is a reality while we are here. When we wake up, it's no longer reality. It's as unreal as a dream. And we discover it. When we awake to a higher reality, this physical world becomes completely unreal. And we know it was created in the same way as a dream while we are awake and go to sleep. So therefore, it's important to remember that while we are here and this is our only reality, the only master who can teach us what to do is a master who is in a physical form, in a physical body, outside. And therefore, he teaches us. But once he is able to help us to go within and discover his own true identity, his true reality inside, the inside master is with us for all times. The outside master will die. He's a physical body like ours. The law of physical existence is that nothing is permanent. Nobody is permanent here. None of us in our physical bodies, and no master has been permanent. So many perfect living masters have come and gone. Where are their bodies? They all went away. Nobody lives here forever. Therefore, it is important that while we have a perfect living master in our life, we follow what he says, get instructions from him, understand what he's saying, follow his instructions to the point that we can manifest his real form inside us. Because the real form inside us will not die, even when the physical form of the master dies. My master, great master, used to tell me, the most important thing a disciple should do while his master is alive is to find out the radiant form inside, to manifest the radiant form of the master inside before the master dies. In that case, when the master physically dies, he will never feel he is gone, because master will stand right in front of him and say, I am not dead, I am here. Once you establish the radiant form of the master, he never goes away. He is with you all the time. He can be in different places. He can be sitting beside you. You see him like you see the physical master. You drive your car, he is a passenger sitting, and you see him. You can talk to him. And sometimes you feel like talking physically in the physical voice. Then you say, even if you think, he can understand and answer. It's a great friendship. It's a friendship that has no comparison with any other friendship that we have. And that radiant form of the master, who can appear physically, he can not only appear physically beside you, he can overlap you. He can say, okay, you are not different from me. Ultimately, we are all one. And he can give you that experience while you are in a physical body, he is in his astral radiant body, and he can jump into you and merge and show you, and you won't know whether it's you or him or the same. These are experiences which you cannot get by any other means that I know of. So therefore, do not underestimate either the power of the physical form of the master or the immense experience you have with the radiant form, the astral form of the master. And the astral form of the master, of course, in meditation, he's your companion all the time. If you fly in your astral body, he flies with you. He chats with you, jokes with you. He does things he would never do in a physical form. Therefore, it's a great friendship. And once a perfect living master has initiated you, he will never leave you till you go back to your true home, Sachkhand. He will be there for all time. If you like to spend some time on the way to your true home, and a lot of people like to, because there are so many attractions on the way, even more attractions than you have in this world. We think this world has all the distractions, and once we get away from these distractions, we shoot off to our own home. It's not like that. In the very next stage of consciousness, in the astral plane, where we have astral bodies, which are very similar to these bodies, which we get automatically when the physical body dies. Doesn't matter if you have a master or not. Doesn't matter if you're initiated or not. Everybody who dies, he dies in this body and finds that another body is right there. That astral body, our astral body, has a much longer life. The same astral body has been born in different forms in the physical bodies over a period of several thousand years. So therefore, the astral body is more permanent. And that astral life in an astral world has been going on much longer than the physical world. And you will find that there are more distractions there than even here. There are such wonderful distractions and attractions there that a lot of people would like to just spend all the time there. A lot of people, when they reach that stage, they think they have reached their true home. All the heavens are there. Some hells are there too. But they think that that is a place which was the origin of everything. It looks like that. Therefore, you get stuck there, and very often, the perfect living master who wants to take you back home, who is with you, and says, let's go home. I was telling you, there was a young girl, a very beautiful young girl, a British girl. She came to Great Master. And she was so pretty. I was very young. I was younger than her even. I was a teenager. And she was so pretty, I was attracted to her face. In the discourse, in the satsang Great Master was having, I was looking at her instead of the Master. I was hoping, when you look at somebody, even if they get a feeling somebody is looking and they turn around. So I was hoping that just by my look, she'll turn around. She was so beautiful. But she did not turn around at all. Her gaze was on the white-bearded man sitting, giving a discourse. She was looking at the Great Master with almost moist eyes. And the love that she was showing, it overwhelmed me to see that a young person at that age, she was only 18 years old, could have that kind of a feeling for a master. And so I had great respect for her after that event. And then she got initiated. The very day she came with a British colonel who was posted in India, and that's from where they had come to the Dera. And she did meditation in the Dera. Then she went back, meditation, and wrote a letter to the Master. The Master gave that letter in English to a few people who used to answer letters for him in English. One of the people who used to answer letters was my grandfather. And my grandfather was by Ishwar Puri. He gave this letter to, he said, Ishwar, take this letter and I'll give you an answer what to give. So my grandfather, although I was so young, he said to me, Ishwar, you read this letter and keep a copy. I have no idea. He never gave me any other letter. He never showed me any other correspondence of Great Master. Only one letter he gave me and I read it. And that girl said that she had achieved great success in meditation. And she said, as I told you before I left the Dera, that I had already reached your radiant form. And I know that you were taking me up home. But my mind was so distracted by the beautiful things I saw on the astral plane that I didn't want to go anymore. It was more distracting than even here. And I am a very aesthetic person. I am touched by beauty. And the beauty of the astral plane was more than I could imagine. I didn't want to go. I know you allowed me to stay there for a while. But then you told me, we have to go. You pulled me up. And I know you took me beyond all these distractions. I would have stayed there forever if you had not taken me up. And I know I am now near the great void, and you helped me to cross it. Beautiful letter, describing her inner experiences. I had respect for her. She returned to England, back, and I met her there. And she wrote a beautiful book also after that on her experiences with the Master without writing anything about her inner experiences. So there is so much distraction there that we might think that we have only distractions here. Once we pull our attention from here, get detached from here, we go shoot straight back to our true home. That's not so. But even if we take thousands of years, thousands of physical years on the way, the same Master whose radiant form appears, and after which we never get a physical birth, the same master will stay with us for thousands of years. He never leaves us. He will stay with us till we reach back home and merge in the only one where the master and you and the creator are all one. That's our true home. Our true home is where there is only one total consciousness. There is no division there. There is no separation. The idea of separation does not come till we get a mind. The mind separates us. We think we are all separate. We think we are even separate from God. We think we are separate from our inner self. All this separation is a creation of our own mind. If our mind is taken away, the separation will finish and we'll be all one. It's amazing that one little instrument installed in our consciousness, which we call the human mind, the thinking mind, can create this kind of strange situation to create the many out of one, to create a separation, and to make a separation the basis of all our experiences. Today, what is our experience with the world? It's based upon separation. You want to love somebody because he or she is separate. You love things because they are separate. You love this world because it's separate. You love God because he's separate. You worship God because he's separate. Nothing is separate. And yet the mind makes everything look separate. It's amazing that one little instrument, I don't even call anything else other than an instrument, like a computer. A little computer installed in our own consciousness and getting all the power to function from our own self. The self is the soul, consciousness itself is a unit of consciousness, our soul, and powers the mind, powers our senses, powers the astral body, powers the physical body, powers all experiences we are having. The soul is the power, it's life, it's the life force. This gives power to all these things, and yet the mind can create such a drama of separation. The mind is the creator of time and space. Time separates us into past, present, and future, makes things happen earlier and later. Nothing is earlier or later in reality. It's all one. But the mind makes it look separate. It creates space. Things are different. This is so far away, this is near. This kind of experience of space and time and then separation is running this whole universe. The truth is not that at all. The truth is there's only one. And who is that one? We are that one. We, all of us are that one. Everything we know of is one. When you will realize by going to your true home, everything that you have ever experienced will be pulled back into the one, and you will see how it devolved from stage to stage into different levels of creation, to different levels of consciousness. And therefore you saw the separation occurring in the three worlds of the mind. And these three worlds are now being run as a permanent universe, unending life for us. We are reborn again and again. How could you be reborn if there was no time, if there was no next life or previous life? This separation is creating rebirth. This separation is creating the need for karma. Because when you have separation in time and space, you create events. You create something here and something there. Something now, something then. When you do that, you create events. When you create events, you connect the events. And there you get cause and effect relationship, and you create the law of karma. Karma is totally unreal in our true home. It's only created by the mind. Karma is a mental projection that makes us go, but we take it real and get caught up in it. And our experience in this devolved world, in the world in which we have been separated, becomes almost a permanent one, that we keep on moving in circles in the same place over and over again and forget that this is not our reality. If there was no cause and effect, if there were no events, we would be back home now. We are just trapped by this time-space causation, which are the characteristic of the mind. And a philosopher, Immanuel Kant, said, mind is not something that is a separate substance. Mind is merely the experience of time, space, and causation. That's what he says. When you experience time, you experience space, you experience cause and effect, you are experiencing the mind. If you go above the mind, none of these three exist. So therefore, if you go above the mind, karma doesn't exist. If you go above the mind, rebirth cannot take place. You go home. So therefore, this experience, which was created just for our entertainment, adventure, we wanted to have a new kind of experience, we are having it. But we never thought that the experience should tie us down and should keep us here forever. We thought that the experience is good, we'll enjoy it, go back home. We want another experience, we can have another adventure, go back home. What happened? We got so tied up with the experience here that we do not even know where our home is. We do not know how to go back home. Fortunately, some of us who were afraid, not really afraid, but just anxious, not to be lost in the experience, not to be caught up in the experience forever, but we should come back, made a little arrangement with ourselves. And the arrangement was that if we get too engrossed in the experience and we don't know how to get out, we should have some key with us, and that key should be there to open the door inside. Today I can tell you the key is a perfect living master who comes into our life. That's the key we ourselves arranged before we left our true home. We brought the key so that we shouldn't get lost forever. If we have to get back home and don't know how to do it, we should have a key to open it. And the key is the appearance in our life here, even in the very unreal but looking real life here, a key that should take us back home. And the key is a perfect living master. Now when I say perfect living master, people are asking me, why do you say living master? What about only any perfect? There are so many perfect masters. Why living master? What about the masters who are perfect? Are not here, but their teachings are here. We can picture them, we can imagine them. We see their statues, we see their pictures, and we can imagine them and have faith in them. What's the difference? Why do you continue to say living master, and the force on living is not on living in spirit, but living physically? What's the big deal about a living master and a non-living perfect master? The answer is very simple. A living, physically living master is the one who can say, no, that's your mind. The other master will go with what your mind says. It's that simple. If the mind is the one that's creating the separation, if mind is the one that's trapping us here, how can we follow a master that's speaking to us through our mind? People come to me and say, we have masters, they are ascended masters sitting in the Himalayas. I have traveled the Himalayas a lot personally. I have met the saints and the yogis who are sitting there. I have not seen ascended master sitting there guiding anybody in the United States. But they believe. If they believe, who are they believing? They're believing their own mind. If somebody says, a bird comes to me every morning, sits on the window and teaches me all the truth, I love that bird. The bird is my master. And when the bird speaks, do you know who speaks when a bird speaks? Who interprets what a bird is saying? The mind. Don't we realize if we follow a bird, an animal, a picture, an imagination, a statue, an idea, it's all our own mind. So either we listen to our mind or we listen to somebody who is obviously, definitely above the mind. There the choice comes in. And therefore the emphasis is on a perfect living master. Who is actually a perfect living master? What is the characteristic of a perfect living master? He is just like us. There is no difference. Potentially we are all perfect living masters. Potentially we have everything that a perfect living master has. There is no difference whatsoever. Every human being has all the equipment, has all the experiences built into it which a perfect living master has. Only difference is he has seen it, experienced it, knows it, and we haven't. That's the only difference. Therefore, since he has had that experience, he has personally experienced a state of being above the mind. Therefore, when he, even in a physical body, is in front of us and speaks to us, he is not speaking just like a person. He is speaking with experience beyond the mind. Therefore, he can guide us to go how to go beyond the mind. He does not rely upon his mind nor on our mind. He goes direct to the source of power and consciousness, which is our soul. He speaks to our soul. He does not speak to our mind. But our mind wants to listen to him. Therefore, he sometimes uses his mind to play with our mind. He teaches us methods which our mind likes. He says, do meditation like this. Mind likes this. He says, work hard. Our mind loves to work hard to get anything. He doesn't say, I'm telling you a lie, because he's dealing with the obstacle in our life, which is our mind. And he is telling us things to do. And eventually we find that the only thing that mattered was his coming into our life from beyond the mind and pulling us beyond our own minds and finding the reality. Because these three worlds of the mind are the only trap that are here. If the mind could be kept away from our path, we would all go home immediately. It's as simple as that. There's no other obstruction. Nothing is coming in the way of our journey to our spiritual home except our own mind. Our own mind is creating thoughts, our mind is creating images, mind is creating desires, mind is creating attachments, mind is creating a continuous circulation of events because of these desires and attachments, and we are trapped here. It's all a function of the mind. And who is powering the mind to do all this? We are doing it. Our soul is doing it. So therefore, it's a big catch-22 that here a perfect living master comes in and we want him to teach us according to our minds and aspirations and our mind's thinking. He's okay, I'll go along with the mind for a while till you discover that the mind is not what is to be taught. There's no teaching required. You just have to control the mind, keep it out of the way, keep it not coming in your way, you'll be back home. So the whole principle of the spiritual journey, of the spiritual enlightenment, is really a journey of how to overcome the mind's obstacles on our way. The mind is the only obstacle. There's nothing else. Our own mind. Nobody else's mind. Everybody else is functioning according to their own mental experiences. And that is how these events pile up. These events that have been created by the mind, they pile up. And we go through the consequences of our events because of the mind, and we think we are trapped forever. Every time a person does something and says, oh, that was wrong. Do you know what that means? If a person does something and says, that was wrong, I should not have done it. First, it creates guilt. What does the guilt do? The guilt perpetuates in the subconscious of that person that I have done something wrong, and he doesn't want to face it, and he pushes down, and in the subconscious is held as a guilt. And then he feels, since I did something wrong, law of punishment and reward must operate. We have built it into our system, and then we wait for the punishment to come. And punishment comes. We anticipated, we built it, and then we do something very nice. That was a good thing I did. Very nice. That deserves a reward. It's built into us. And we wait for the reward to come. And the reward comes. This system of carrying with us our own morality, a system in which we are continuously judging good and bad for ourselves, a continuous judgment on ourselves and on others. This is what is leading to punishment and reward. And we are all creating our own morality. It's not that there's standard morality lying somewhere. What was good for one person was not good for another. What was good for us 100 years ago is not good for us today. People change their moral codes all the time. There's no standard morality ever laid out by anybody. It's been changing all the time. And therefore, individually, our own conscience, which is part of consciousness, our own conscience builds the system of judgment that we judge, this is good, this is bad. And once we judge it, we are embedding in ourselves the seeds of punishment and reward. And this system is called the law of karma. Karma is nothing else. Karma is our own actions that we embed in our subconscious and wait for the consequence to come. And therefore the cycle goes on. We do things which are good, do things which are bad, and we keep on getting rewards and punishments. We do good things and we get high. and feel very good, then we do bad things. There is a saying in India, Tapo Raj, Rajo Nark, which means that when you do good things, meditation included, tap included, when you do that, next time you are rewarded for it and you become a king, you become rich, you become powerful. Then when you're rich and powerful, you do all bad things. And then you go to hell. In hell you say, oh no, never again, never again. And you again go back to tap and do meditation. Then you get reward and become king or wealthy. So this cycle of these three stages goes on forever. And we perpetuate the law of karma. So this karma is entirely a creation of our own mind. But it traps us. It traps us into an ongoing, continuous experience over here, from which we cannot get out. And when we try to worship without a living master, we are worshipping our own mind. There's no way out of it. You can think hard about it. Whoever says, I had a conversation with God, I can prove to him he had conversation with his mind. The conversation was within his mind. All conversations in the head are taking place with the mind. There's nobody else. It's you and your mind. You are powering the mind is thinking. And the mind can think anything. It can think prayers. It can think anything. It can get rewarded for its prayer. It can be punished for bad thoughts. It all works like that. But a person who is not you at this time in the physical world, who is separate from you and is not speaking from his mind, but is speaking from above it, and is not addressing it to your mind, but addressing to your soul, we call that person a perfect living master. A perfect living master does not appear in your life just like any other ordinary person. He shows some aspects of living which are quite different from all other people that we know. What are those basic differences that you will notice? One is that knowing that all judgments that you make are because of your own mind, he will never judge. You will never see a human being who we call a perfect living master, who has attained the state of being beyond the mind, ever judging anything. Unless he's a judge. His role is a judge, then he will pass judgment. But if he's not a judge on a bench, then he will not judge anybody. He will not judge any action. When he sees people and we tell them that person is bad, how does he look at it? He says, sorry, that person is caught up in his own conscience. He's caught up in bad and good, and I'm sorry for him. I have compassion for him. I have love for him. If you say that person is very good, I'm glad that person has put himself, but there's a danger. Today is good, tomorrow he can be bad. It's a judgment call. He will never judge. Now that's an exception, which is very rare to find. All of us are liable to judge, give judgment all the time, give opinions all the time about people, even go on gossiping, where nothing will matter by what we say. He will still gossip negative and positive about people. But the perfect living master never does this. Second characteristic, which is even more amazing, is that the perfect living master is not looking at our body. He is not looking at our mind. He is not looking at our karma. He is looking at our soul. Therefore, he has an innate, built-in love for us. That love is so visible and so strong. That love cannot be compared with any other love. And how to compare it? It's unconditional. A perfect living master never says, now you better be a good boy, otherwise I won't love you. Never. He will love you if you love him. He will love you if you don't love him. He will love you if you hate him. He will love you if you kill him. A person, he is a living being. He is a human being like us, and yet the love is unconditional. Completely unconditional. Why? Because he is not operating from the physical self. With the physical body, he is operating from the spiritual self and is addressing your spiritual self. The feeling we get when we get to know a perfect living master after a while is, he is not really talking to a body or ourself. He is talking deeper than that. He is touching something in us which we have never felt before. He is touching our soul, because that is what is happening. So therefore, this unconditional love of a perfect living master is a unique thing. and you can't find normally in this world. Of course, there may be people who are highly advanced spiritual beings. They also have the same characteristics. In fact, there may be people who have the same level of experiences as the perfect living master. But their role is not to be a master, but they have the experience. So there are people like that. They will show the same characteristics also. But we call them gurmukhs. That means those who follow their master and have reached that stage of identification. And the others we call manmukhs, those who follow their mind. Most of us are manmukhs. We follow our mind. There are some who live their entire life following the master. And they are the gurmukhs. So there are people, but their role may not be to be a master. And therefore they have that highest awareness and highest consciousness. But they have not come to teach or to take anybody. But they'll have the same characteristics of not being judgmental and having pure love. Also, there are some little vicious things we do, which we are calling vices, but I don't know if you can even put judgment on that. Like anger. We all get angry. We get angry. We get attached. We get greedy. So these kind of negative features that we have, which are also born from the mind and are practiced by us every day, and we sometimes don't seem to have control over them. These negative things, lust, anger, greed, attachment, ego, these 5 so-called vices, which we all have, which are indeed very necessary in order to do what? To pay off our karma, which we created with our mind. We use the negative things in us to pay off a karma which we created. It's amazing that negative things are needed to continue to survive in the law of cause and effect, in the law of karma. And that's what we are doing. Yet you will find that if you went above the mind, none of these things bother you at all. None of these will bother you. You will not have the lust, you will not have the anger, you will not have the greed, you don't have the attachments, and you don't have the ego. Your humility is genuine. That's another sign. In a perfect living master who is an ordinary human being like us, and you see these qualities, then you feel there is something different about a person. So the characteristics that you can see in a perfect living master, even in a physical body, in a physical being, are so unique and so different from everybody that it tells us that he has reached some stage which is not governed by the mind. And that's exactly what it is. He's not operating from the mind. He uses the mind as needed. He can use the mind to develop language and talk to us. He can use the mind to give us an argument or an explanation. He can use the mind for communication with us. But he is not used by the mind. The mind doesn't tell him what to do. He tells the mind what to do, which we are all supposed to do. The mind was not given to us to tell us what to do. The mind was given to us, we could instruct the mind what to think, what to do. It's become the opposite. Today the mind is guiding us what to do. Not only that, we have reached a point, we are being guided so continuously by the mind, we think we are the mind. People say, I'm thinking, that's me thinking. We don't think. We make our minds think. But we don't separate ourselves. We don't realize we are consciousness per se, the ability to be aware. And we are using a machine installed in our consciousness called the mind, which thinks. We don't realize that our consciousness makes the mind think. And therefore, we should use the mind to think what we want it to think. And not go by what it wants to think on its own, and we follow it. Well, that's what's gone wrong. We put the cart before the horse. We should have put ourselves as the director, as the pusher to tell the mind what to do. And not that mind keeps on thinking and telling us what to do, and we keep on blindly following, not knowing enough what the mind is saying. Mind has inadequate information on its hands. Most of it is sunk into the subconscious of the mind, and the mind picks up some little pieces, has little information, and gives us direction, do this, and we start doing it. The mind comes up, oh, I didn't know that. And we say, oh, sorry, we made a mistake, another karma. What kind of life is that? A life led by our mind is not the life that was intended for us. We didn't come into this world for that. We came in this world equipped with the best equipment to have a great time. We had the equipment of a thinking mind which could communicate, which could reason, which could make sense of things whenever we want. We came equipped with a mind that could create sense perceptions. And we could then divide our perception into seeing, touching, tasting, smelling. We came into this world equipped with a physical body in which those senses could be embedded and they would operate as if they belonged to this body. What else did we need to have an adventure? What else did we need to have any kind of experience? Any show could be held with these means we were given, these tools we were given. And what did we do? Instead of having the adventure with these, we began to misidentify ourselves. First, we thought the mind was ourselves. The mind thinks and we say, I think so. I and mind became one. Terrible mistake. Then we said, these senses are mine, I am seeing. These are my eyes to see. Terrible mistake. And equipment, glasses given to us to operate, we calling them ourselves. Then on top of it, a temporary cover of a physical body given to us just to have a physical experience in a materially created physical experience of a world. We say, this is me. This is my only me, my physical body. We made 3 big blunders. The blunders of misidentification with covers upon ourselves which were designed to give an experience, and we began to think they are ourselves. And ourselves sitting inside, giving power to all these 3, the life force, the consciousness, the soul, the spirit, which was inside, which created and ran these 3 things, is lost inside. We don't even know who we are. And we think these covers are ourselves. And even when we lose these covers, the internal cover becomes our real self. How will you get out of it? If there was no perfect living master to tell us these are all covers upon ourselves, if there was no perfect living master, we could never get out from it. I can't imagine any way that our thinking could have ever taken us out, because thinking would have kept us within the domain of the mind. And all these 3 levels of experience are being created by the mind. Therefore, we were in bad trouble, but we got the key. Thank God some of us brought a key. And those who brought the key, that we don't want to get trapped in case there is a trap there. And there was a trap. And we said, we have the key. The key was the appearance during this experience in the physical world of a perfect living master in our life. That was the key. And the perfect living master came, developed love, and we pulled by his love more than by his teaching. We first thought it was a teaching because the teaching was addressed to our mind. All teachings are addressed to the mind. We thought the teaching was good, very perfect, looks good. The mind was drawn towards it. And therefore the mind was partially taken away from the distractions of the world toward the teachings. And then they was feeling there's something more going on behind these teachings. And then gradually we discovered it was not the teaching that were pulling us. It was love, an unconditional, pure spiritual love of a master that was pulling us. And there was nothing like it we had experienced before. And that love alone pulled us back. Now, how can love pull us back above the mind? I want to tell you this. The mind has its own functions. And the soul performs some functions entirely on its own without using the mind and without using anything else. The functions that the mind uses are sensing, which means picking up the sense perceptions of the seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, these sense perceptions. It picks up and then it makes sense of them. Because if it doesn't make sense, if you saw this yellow color here, they don't become flowers unless the mind makes them flowers. As a perception, as a visual perception, these flowers sitting on the table are merely blob of yellow color in certain shapes. How do they become flowers? The mind makes them flowers. So there's one function, very important function. It gives meaning to our visual and other perceptions. All the sense perceptions, it converts them into meaningful meaningful things, and they become meaningful things for our thoughts. Then we can think about all these things which the mind senses. So the second thing it does, which it does continuously, is thinking. It can think in words, mostly it thinks in words, and sometimes it thinks in images, but it thinks all the time. The thinking of the mind is so important, it's like the heartbeat of the physical body. If the heartbeat stops, the physical body stops functioning. Similarly, if the thinking stops in the mind stops, and then everything falls below it. So therefore, the mind will think continuously. And what does it think about? It thinks about the perceptions it has picked up and made sense of. Then, the third function of the mind is to draw conclusions logically. The logic is the third function. Because of this and this, now this is the result. So it does deductive logic and inductive logic. Deductive logic is, he says, oh, this is one yellow flower, the other one behind must be yellow flower, so it's yellow. I see all of them are yellow. This one was also yellow. That's deductive logic. That means I see something big and I know the part is also like that. That's the definition of deductive logic. It also does inductive logic, that the wall is white and I can't see that part, but it must be white. And that's inductive logic. Inductive logic has uncertainty in it. You can never be certain. Deductive logic gives us no new information. So we are working with the same information over and over again, and that's a function of the mind, and the mind keeps us very busy in that. These three functions all take place in time and space. You cannot think even a single thought, even the smallest thought, without time. You cannot have any image without time and space. You cannot have any deductions except from the senses which are in time and space. The total functioning of the mind is confined to time, space, and cause and effect. It doesn't go beyond that. Now there is something that happens beyond these three, and that happens straight in our soul, in our spirit. One is love. Love doesn't come by thinking. Love comes from the soul, directly. It comes all the time. It comes automatically. The mind throws it back, kills it. The mind kills the love, doesn't create it. You can think and say, oh, is it real? Is it unreal, this feeling I had? But the feeling of love is not coming from the mind at all. It's coming directly from the soul. Beauty. We can see these are flowers. The mind can say these are flowers. But the mind cannot say they're beautiful flowers unless the soul says they're beautiful flowers. So there are some functions which are purely, and to be able to see beauty, you do not need time and space. Beauty by itself is a spiritual function. Love is a spiritual function. When you feel love for somebody, you don't say, it took me 3 minutes or 3 seconds to feel the love. Love is instantaneous. It doesn't need time and space. Beauty doesn't take time and space. Intuition, a gut feeling, intuitive knowledge does not take time and space. It's not a mental function, spiritual function. So just like the mind has 3 functions, the soul has its own 3 functions, and they're separate. When I came to this country, people used to just mix up mind and soul as if it's the same thing. They say, whatever this conscious thing, the mind, soul, whatever you call it. They would talk to me like that. I say, how can you mix up the mind and the soul? They are so different. One operates in time, the other does not. One operates within certain big limitations, the other is free. How can you mix them up? But they had no idea. Even we have no idea. We have ourselves thinking we are the mind. We've forgotten we are the soul, and the soul is functioning. It's functioning all the time. It doesn't function when you go to a higher plane of consciousness. It's functioning now. It's functioning in the physical body. You have experience of love. You have experience of intuition. You have experience of beauty right here, every day. And yet you also experience of rationalizing, thinking, making sense every day. We are doing these things through these machines which are installed in our consciousness every day. But when you function from the soul, love is one of those things which come directly from there. A perfect living master operates from the soul. His main method of taking us back home is not the teaching. His method is love. He'll draw you with his love. Eventually you'll find that what pulls you beyond your mind is the love that he is extending to you, which you've never experienced before, because it's pure, spiritual, and very powerful. That's what it is. But while we are still busy understanding him, using mental powers to grasp what he's saying, he'll give you the teaching. He'll give you not only teaching, he'll give you that to struggle with. Why? Because we have been taught over centuries that you get nothing without struggling for it, without working for it. We have been trained, our mind has been trained. You don't get anything without working for it. You have to struggle for it. All right, struggle. Do more meditation. Work hard at it. Do all this, and we do it till we get tired. Then we find that was not the way. What were we doing? But till we got our own experience, we still believe that we have to work hard to get anything. There was a very beautiful disciple of great master, and he was a judge in one of the states in India. He was the finance minister of that state, and he was also a very beautiful man, and he retired. And after getting initiated, he retired and came to great master, and he said, "Master, give me any service, I'll do for you." He said, "Oh, you've been a judge, you've been an advocate, you've been this, you can do many things." He says, "No, if you don't mind, can I ask for a special job?" He said, "Okay, what do you want?" "I want to be your doorman." And much to the surprise of everybody, great master said, "Okay, be my doorman." And he was the doorman all his life. After that, he was the doorman. The great master just standing outside his door, letting people come in or go out. And he enjoyed that. He wrote some books. One of them is called Heaven Upon Earth and so on. He wrote a number of books. Now that man enjoyed his stay there. He appreciated the love of the white-bearded man so much. He said, "This is the greatest thing I could ever get." And yet one day, a thought came to him, "I have been so happy here serving this master, and I enjoy it, but I never did my meditation. I missed out on something so important. How will I go to my true home? How will I go to Sachkhand? I'm just having my good time over here." So he knew that the master goes to a hill station every year. During the summer, it was very hot there in India. And in the summer, the great master would go to a hill station. And one year, the master decided not to go. So he came to the master. He said, "Master, I understand you're not going to your holiday resort in the hills." Master said, "No, this year I'm not going." He said, "Can you give me the keys of your house? So I'll go and meditate there. 3 months, I'll do nothing but meditate. I'll catch up with all that I've missed. I missed meditation in my life. I've enjoyed life with you, but I don't want to miss on meditation." So the great master said, "Here are the keys. Go." He wanted to let him have the experience. So he went to the hill station called Dalhousie in India and opened the door of the great master's house and sat and said, "What a beautiful ambience here. Great master's vibrations are here. He comes and stays. This will be the best meditation of my life, and I'll catch up with all the lost time." As soon as he started to sit for meditation, somebody knocked on the door. "Oh, I'm glad somebody's here. I'm the plumber. I've been waiting for somebody to come to repair this." So repair started. Next day, another person come. Third day, another. He found there were more distractions during those 3 months than even elsewhere in his life. He could not meditate at all. He felt so bad. He came back to great master, returned the keys, and he said, "Master, I failed. I'm sorry, I tried, but I failed." And great master said, "No, you didn't fail. You succeeded." He said, "How can you say that? I could not meditate." He says, "That's exactly how you succeeded. That meditation would have given you nothing. What takes you to the highest regions is love and devotion. Meditation is only for the mind. Mind wants to work. You tried. If you had not gone and failed, you wouldn't have known this. Therefore, you succeeded. You passed." And he was shocked that this was the truth. This is the truth. That the power of the soul rests with beauty, intuition, love. Those are natural functions of the soul that we have, that is inside us, that's giving us life. And those functions do not belong to the mind. The master pulls you with those functions. He gives you intuitive knowledge, not always rational knowledge. He says, read the books and then throw the books away. One man came from another country, not United States, from another country, to Great Master. He said, Master, I have understood what your path is, and I want to really practice it. Great Master said, you have to read a lot more books. Go to the library and read. This is a very difficult path, and you have to read more books. He went and spent months reading those books. Then he came back, and Master said, okay, I'll initiate you. You read enough. Another man came and he said, Master, I read all the books, and I want to read more. I believe you have many in the library. He says, first go and throw away all those books into the river. Then you come and get initiation. He knew exactly where we stand in this thing. I'll tell you my own family experience. My father was the first one to get initiated in the whole family. Then everybody got initiated one after the other. But my father's mother-in-law, my maternal grandmother, she was a worshipper of these little idols. This is Brahma, this is Vishnu, this is Shiva, this is goddess Parvati, this is goddess Durga. So she had all those little images made of wood or made of stone or something, and she had a temple in her house. And she used to worship that temple, worship all the gods and goddesses, and used to use a lot of nice incense. They burn the incense, and she would burn the incense and had a bell which she rang when she did the worship. It was a great atmosphere she created during the morning prayers to the gods and goddesses. She loved her gods and goddesses. She said, everything I get from my gods and goddesses. So my dad, after getting initiated from Great Master and finding out that the truth is inside us and not in these gods and goddesses, they are just pieces of stone and wood, went to argue with her. He says, mother-in-law, what you are doing is not the right thing. You should come and meet my master. He will tell you the right way to go within. You get initiated, take Naam from him, go inside. You will find the truth is inside, not in these little toys that you are playing with. She says, shut up. You have no idea. These are real gods and goddesses. They hear my prayers. I have tried all my life and they do hear my prayers. What I want, they give me. And I like to worship them. They give me happiness and joy. What does your master give you? You are as angry as you ever were. I never saw a worse son-in-law than you. What are you talking about? You go to your master. I am happy with my gods and goddesses. Eventually, my dad said, this is a very tough nut to crack. What should I do? He told his master, Great Master, I want my mother-in-law also to follow your teachings, but she is worshipping these gods and goddesses like most Hindus are doing in India. They go to temples and worship these. She is also caught up in the same racket. And I want her to get off from there and go and really worship the real God inside. He said, don't worry, Lekhraj, that was his name, my dad's name. Don't worry, Lekhraj, I'll come and meet her. He was very happy that Master will himself come. So he told his mother-in-law, Great Master is coming to see you. Oh, welcome. So Great Master went to her house and she said, Master, this son-in-law of mine is giving me wrong ideas. I'm glad you have come. You'll understand me. She says, yes, ma'am, what can I do for you? She says, I have all the temple, my beautiful temple. Oh, really? You have a temple in your house? Yes. He took off his shoes. Let's go to your temple. And he sat down, and along with my granny, he rang the bell and he worshipped all the gods. She was so happy. This man knew that these were real gods and goddesses. The son-in-law knew nothing. So the Great Master made her so happy. She said, I knew the master is right. You never follow your master. If you had followed your master, you would be worshipping the same gods and goddesses. My dad was puzzled. What is this master doing? I thought he'll go and tell her this is all not right. And he himself started worshipping these little dolls and little toys. So the Great Master made her very happy. And he said, ma'am, it's very nice to see your temple. I've had a great time. I feel very happy and I'm so glad to see you. Come and see me sometimes in the Dera. She said, sure, I will come. She would never have gone but for that experience. Then she went there and heard one discourse, two discourses, three discourses, and she said, I understand what you're saying is right. The truth is inside. I was worshipping something outside. I think I better ask him for initiation. She asked for initiation. Certainly, he gave her the initiation. She began to do meditation. And after a month, she went back to Great Master and said, Master, I have a little problem. He said, what's your problem, ma'am? He says, you saw all those gods and goddesses, they are still sitting in my temple. And I don't need them. I don't know what to do with them. He said, oh, do you buy wheat in a big bag? Oh yes, there are big gunny bags, these are brown bags. I buy my wheat. He says, when you have an empty bag, go and put all those gods and goddesses in that bag, tie it up and throw it into the river. And she did exactly that. We can never know how these masters perform their functions. They come to our level. They know where we are. They don't say, we are going to teach you from a pulpit, from somewhere high up, from a pedestal. They come to our level. They develop love and friendship. They pull us with their love more than anything else. And we discover that they can do these things. I'm telling you another story of great master. He went to another place called Rawalpindi, which is now called Islamabad in Pakistan. And there was a big Sikh temple there. The Sikhs believe that their holy book is the master. They had 10 masters whose name they list. The 10th master, said there'll be no more masters, and therefore the book should be taken as master. They claim that he said this, though I have studied and find he never said it, but that's a different matter. Somebody else said this, but they claim the gurus have said that the book is now going to be the master forever. So they treat the book like a master. Not only that, they feed the book. They put some food under the book. They carry the book on their heads. And while they are doing their prayers, they make sure the book doesn't have any flies on it. So they wave a little flyer on it. They do all the things like it's a human being. Because all the 10 masters whose teachings are in the book say you have to have a human being as a master. They all say that, and yet, therefore, they have to treat it like a master, a human master. But they're treating the book like a human master. Great master visited that city and was going to give a discourse very close to where the temple was. And those Sikhs said, how can a man claim to be a master? We must kill him, because they can be very violent too if it comes to religion. Like most religions they teach you peace, and people sometimes practice violence. It's very amazing contradiction in religion. That religion says, love everybody, all are created by the same God. Every religion says that and propagates the theory of love for everybody. And yet so many people have been killed in history in the name of religion, in the name of the same God. It's very amazing how this could have happened. It does happen. So when Great Master visited there, these people said, how dare he claim to be a guru? Only the 10 gurus were guru, now the book is the guru. If he comes out to pretend to be a guru, we'll kill him. And we have our swords to kill him. They all carry swords. Here when they travel, they carry little sword, but there they carry big ones. And next day was the Great Master's discourse. So people found out that there was a plan to kill him. And they advised him. There was a meeting at night. By the way, I was there too. I was young, but I was still there in that group. And I remember all this hush-hush meeting and discussion. Master, cancel your tour. Master, too dangerous. They are going to kill you tomorrow. We can't afford to lose you. And let's go back tonight before they can do it. Master said, no. Satsang will take place tomorrow. The meeting will take place tomorrow. Don't worry. Don't worry. Leave it to the master. Leave it to my master, to Baba Jamal Singh. He claimed his master was powerful. He wasn't. He never claimed to be a master. And he all gave all the credit to his own master. He said, no, Babaji is there taking care of me. Don't worry. They were all frightened. Next day, Great Master says, before I go to give my discourse, I want to go to the temple, the Sikh temple. So, instead of going to his discourse place, he went to the Sikh temple. All those people were waiting with swords, drawn swords. I still remember. And he went to the temple, followed by some of his people like us, and we were waiting to see a massacre or something. And there he goes in, and he bows to the book and gives 5 rupees, so like a currency, 5 rupees to the book, and says thank you, and sits down in front of the book. And they all say, we had wrong information about this man. He worships our book. So they put their swords back. And then he asked his own chanter, who had come from the Dera, Bhan Singh, his name was Bhan Singh, says, Pati Bhan Singh, come and chant the 5th Guru's verse so and so. So he was also dressed up in proper Sikh attire with a turban and all. So the man who was sitting on the book, who was reading, this man went and pushed him aside and took over the book. The man who went, and he opened that page and began to read. Unless you can see the face of a master, you get nothing from a master. Unless the master can hold your hand and give you something, you get nothing. It's all in the book. So he read that book powerfully. The master was just sitting like this. Everybody was wondering what has happened. And they said, no, this master worships our guru, but he's just a follower of the same teachings. He's teaching from our book. So he went, master got up, went to give his discourse, and said, give the discourse from the same book. And all these people who with swords came there to hear him. And he gave a discourse, what the book was saying. Interpreted that without a living person, a person who can, it's the 5th Guru's teachings which are very explicit. That is where I like that song which sometimes Tikki sings, which says, Jo mange, Thakur apne te sahi sahi wo deve. And that says, Kant laye, av gun samete. If he gives you a hug, he removes so much of your vices and your karma. Now they should know the book cannot give you a hug. Only a human being can do it. So the book is saying all these things. So that is why when the master gave that discourse, they couldn't do anything. He was giving a discourse from their book. And to cut a long story short, most of them became his disciples, those who had come to kill him. So we never know how a master operates, how he can do things. He can come to our level and do things which create not a feeling of a student-teacher relationship. It's not that feeling with a master. It's a feeling of a true friendship, feeling of somebody where you have experienced real love which has no conditions attached to it. It's a very great feeling. And that is why I say it's nice to know the spiritual path, but don't forget the spiritual path is not what looks on the face of it. The spiritual path is a path of love and devotion, eventually. I wish all of you great spiritual adventures inside, like you came for the physical adventures here, have greater spiritual adventures. But use all your methods to reach there. But don't forget, eventually, only the pull of the unconditional love of a perfect living master will take you beyond your mind. Thank you. We'll have a break. And I believe I saw some pizzas coming. And I know pizza is a weakness of mine. I was attracted when I came to this country by ye old Shakey's pizza. And I thought that I might have lost my spiritual power because when I tried to meditate, I said, ye old Shakey's, ye old Shakey's. So you see, I said, I'm getting distracted by pizza only. No. If you have a master, radiant form of master inside, nothing will distract you. Don't worry. Thank you. Well, we have a little time for a few questions and answers. Does anybody have any question to ask? I think they have asked the questions already in their interviews, but he didn't have interview, so he can ask a question.
Sir, are souls like ourselves entering into it?
Very good question. Thank you for asking it. He's asking this basic question: why has this world been created when we were so happy and blissful in our true home to start with? Why did we have to come into the three worlds of the mind with all negativity when we were living happily? And it appears from the records we see that a bulk of the souls that were created, almost 90% of those souls, never left. They are still having good time there. And who are we 10%? Sitting here and elsewhere in these three worlds. What was the big purpose of coming here? Now, that's a good question. That why did we come here? What's the purpose of creation? The reason is that our reality is consciousness. Our true home is a ocean of consciousness. And the building blocks for all experiences at every level is consciousness. Consciousness is a power by which you can be conscious of anything that you're conscious of. So it's an innate power. That means that if you want to have an experience of anything, consciousness can be conscious, which will create that experience and become real, and then you have the experience. The vast, large number of, uncountable number of souls that were created in our true home itself was itself an activity within the totality of consciousness to have multiple units so that the experience of the many and the one could be taken place at once. Now this is still happening in our own world, in our own true world, where there's no pain, there's no suffering, there's nothing at all. So now we're describing what the nature of our true home is, from where we need not have come here, and most have not come here. What was the purpose of creating other worlds lower down here, these lower creations, especially the creations of the three worlds of the mind? The purpose was that consciousness operates on the basis of being able to experience what is and what can be. Otherwise, there would be no creation. If consciousness says, I can be conscious of something and is conscious of nothing, it's no longer consciousness. Consciousness and experience, the consciousness subsists on something to be conscious of. Therefore, the creative power of consciousness is always at play. It can create the experience of the many within the one. That's the first experience. And that's happening in our true home right now. But then it finds that when you have these opposite experience, the one and the many are opposite experiences. The one is real, the many is not. But the many makes the one more real. Then you just distinguish between the many and the one. The distinction between what is created and what the creator is makes for the experience of consciousness. Therefore, the more you can create situations in which there is more opposites created, the more valuable the experience for the one. Now, to put it in a more physical terminology, because this is not physical terminology I'm talking of, to talk of the power of consciousness to be one and many, and thereby having an experience of consciousness, it doesn't make sense to us here. Here we say, we are so many of us. Okay, we are many. Our reality is our soul, but we are many souls. We are a select number of souls who chose to come here. The experience here is completely opposite of the experience in our true home. We've come into a negative experience. How will that experience become positive if there is no negative experience at all? You will not have any experience of positivity if there is nothing opposite to that. Therefore, the whole principle of creation, right up to here, is based upon pairs of opposites. So this principle of pairs of opposites, which is called duality, the principle of duality prevails throughout creation. And nothing can be experienced unless there's an opposite of it. Look at the experience right here in this world. We see light. Supposing there was no darkness, would we see it? Nobody would ever see. Imagine light would become invisible if there was no darkness. Supposing there's a certain amount of light which whether you close your eyes, you open your eyes, it's always there. You'd never see it. The whole principle of experience is based upon having an experience of the opposite. Supposing there was no hatred in this world, would you know what love is? Supposing there was no unhappiness in this world, would you know what happiness is? If you had no opposite of anything, you would not have the experience of the opposite. This goes down to the very molecular level of creation, where you find that if the positive and negative of an atom is not there, it doesn't exist. If both are negative, they disappear. If both are positive, they disappear. It is the negative electron running to create matter around a positive positron or a neutron. This principle goes down to every level of every type of creation, at all levels of creation, right up to our true home. The pairs of opposites is the greatest principle. Now the question is that in the world of the three minds, it's a world of pairs of opposites. It's all a world of duality. But our true home is not a world of duality because there's no time and space to separate it. Then how do you experience there when there's no duality? How do you get the experience there? By the creation of a world of duality here, and that becomes the opposite of a world of duality. So principle of opposite even applies there now. So the purpose of creation, of the three worlds of the mind, the lower creation, is really to enhance the experience of our own true home. And you cannot have that experience unless you have had the experience opposite to that. That is why in Anurag Sagar, Ocean of Love, by Kabir, they explain that the souls that have come down, we call them Hans. And souls that never came down, we call them Bans. When we go back to our true home, it is such a great delight to have that experience. They are all singing and dancing, taking it natural. All the Bans souls are singing and dancing. And when we arrive there, we are so ecstatic. And they say, what's so special about you? That you are so dancing better than us? What's so special? And we tell them, you don't know what you're missing because you have had no chance to see the opposite. So we have seen the opposite and we appreciate what is there more than those who are always there. So therefore, this is a great principle on which this whole creation has been based, so that we can have these experiences of this kind here and go back home and intensify and greatly enhance the experience of where we always were. That's the real reason. Any other question?
For darkness, in order to experience light, but why would the totality of consciousness allow for that?
The more intense the negative experience, the more intense the positive experience. The more intense, then why should we take the trouble of creating a real, terrible torture situation if we are going to just use that terrible experience just to intensify the positive? The reason is the positive is real always. This is created illusion. For example, you go to sleep, have a terrible nightmare, very bad dream. You're tortured in the dream. You feel bad. And then you wake up. You say, thank God it was just a dream. That's exactly what we say when we go back home. Thank God the whole thing was dreamlike. It is just created to make the experience of wakefulness more intense. This is so wonderfully arranged. We like to have a real experience. We don't want shadows. We can see a shadow. A shadow is never like us. How can somebody talk to a shadow and have a feeling of love and devotion and all that? How can a shadow do anything for us? A shadow cannot, unless we make the shadow alive, make it like ourselves. If a shadow becomes like us, we fall in love. And then when we put up and say, that was just a shadow? Why did we do that? So that we have a more intense experience where there is no shadow. So it's a remarkable way. People say this creation is illusion, dreamlike. And I say this creation is a creation of reality for us. It is the process of illusion being used, the process of dream being used to create a reality. We don't feel it's dream, we feel it's real. Not only we feel it's real, we feel it's the only reality. Now to be able to create an only reality is a great marvel of consciousness. That you can go into a dream state and make the dream real, which happens every time we go to dream. While we're dreaming, it's real. So long as the dream lasts, we are not aware of where our body is sleeping. We are moving around with a different body called the dream body. The real body, physical body, is sleeping on bed. We are moving in the dream. The dream is real. Even if you say in the dream, this is a dream, we say, sometimes we do that. We are still taking that to be real. And we are telling people, come, I tell you, it's a dream. If we knew that person doesn't exist, when we wake up, we never tell anybody to go back to tell them it was a dream. Because we create the reality. The principle by which you can shift a level of consciousness to a different level and make it real, that's the most beautiful miracle that could ever happen. And we are doing it all the time. That we can shift our consciousness from a wakeful state into a dreamlike state and make it look absolutely wakeful. And we can go to sleep again in the dream, have a dream within a dream, and still make it like it is real and wakeful. It's a wonderful thing. Consciousness has that power and is doing it all the time. That's how we are here. Even if I knew you are all dream creatures, why am I talking to you? Because I'm taking you to be real. If I am enlightened and I know this is all dream, I wouldn't be speaking to you. And yet I speak to you in your dream, in my dream. Why am I speaking to you in my dream? An answer was given by a famous Swami of India. His name was Vivekananda. He came more than 100 years ago to Chicago. And he addressed the World Congress of Religions in Chicago. And he was picked up by a lady who was just sitting somewhere. They didn't know that he was able to speak English. But when he spoke, for 2 days he spoke in that conference. On the third day he said to the audience, I have been telling you all these 3 days that this world is illusion. It's maya, mithya, unreal, destructible. It'll go away. When you die, it'll disappear with you. I have been saying it's unreal. Then if this world is unreal, so am I unreal. If I am unreal, why am I talking to you? What am I telling you about? He says, there's a difference. The rest of the dream, the rest of the world, which is maya, is keeping you here. This part of the dream, which I am putting you back into reality and making you wake up. So there's a little difference in the elements of the dream also. In the dream, we can have elements that wake you up and the elements that keep you sleeping more. So what is the role of a master? A perfect living master comes into our life. He's that part of a dream, of our own dream. We create him. We create him to wake us up quickly. He is working somewhere else too, from where he's waking us up. It's just like a man who's sleeping. In his dream, he thinks he's carrying his horses. Says a farmer with horses. And he's taking his horses back into the barn, carrying the horses. Now that's a dream. He's lying on a bed while he's having a dream. His friend wants to wake him up. The friend is awake. This guy is sleeping. The friend comes and gives him a nudge. Get up, get up. Now he can feel the nudge in the dream. And he can hear his friend's voice in the dream. He says, get up, get up. He says, who will take my horses? Can you imagine? The friend's nudge is real. And the horses are real also at the same time. He says, who will take care of my horses? And the man who's nudging him says, don't worry, wake up, I'll take care of your horses. And he wakes up. And he never says, were you a liar? Where have you taken care of my horses? He knows there were no horses. And yet the horses were real while he was dreaming. It's the same situation here. At every level of consciousness, we have the same experience. That we take this as reality. And somebody awake, more awake, appearing in our dream, in our state, is nudging us from there. Wake up. And we say, what about the problems here? Will you take care of them? Oh yes, I'll take care of these problems too. And we wake up and find there were no problems. It's such a remarkable way this is all set up. I once thought, when I was very young, maybe if I am given a chance to redesign creation, I'll do little here and there and make it better. I would remove these torturous things and do something better than this. I'll remove some of the negative things. And when I saw the grand picture of the whole thing, I could do nothing. I saw perfection. Only when you see the entire creation and the Creator together, you find perfection. You don't find perfection less than that. Otherwise, imperfect. If you see part, it's always imperfect. So it's remarkable the way it's set up. Then, what's the beauty of it? What I'm telling you is achievable to us in this dream while we are in the physical body, without leaving the physical body, without leaving the physical universe. Within this physical body, we have points in the body which can throw us out of the body and give us experience outside of the body. It doesn't mean a person who has out-of-body experience has left the body. He's still alive and kicking. He can get the experience. These lower chakras have given people, the heart chakra has given people an out-of-body experience. Yet they were alive in the body. They never left the body. The experience was they left the body. They'd gone out. It's possible. Just like the experience of out-of-body experience attached with a kind of a cord, silver cord that can pull you back into the body, which many people have had that experience. Similarly, within the head, behind the eyes, right behind the eyes to the middle of the head and then upwards, there are points. Just like that, those points. These are energy centers below us. Those are centers of awareness. When you touch your attention there, they open up something that exists not in this state at all. It exists in the wakeful state. That's an amazing miracle by itself, that within a physical body, in the physical world, that you have these points within the head, that when you put your attention there, you are awake to another world without dying here, without leaving the physical body. What a great miracle. How could you improve this? I can't understand how we can improve the system, the setup. System enabling us to wake up to the highest level, to the totality of consciousness, sitting right here in our physical body. How can I not praise the physical body? And this is only in the physical body you have this. Because in order to put the attention on those points, you need an experience which does not exist. The experience of your own individual self having a free will. Since the whole design has taken place in totality, free will has been built into totality. All the things that have to happen have happened without time and space and then spread out into time and space. So when we say that this is something that is touching us there, how do we go there in this experience? We seek, we meditate, we use our free will. We say, yes, it's my choice to go there. And when we go there, a new world opens up, which is more real than this. And there we go further up, another world opens up, and we see all that we were doing was already recorded there, including our seeking, including our free will. But unless we feel we have real free will here, we can't have the experience. That's another strange contradiction, that you should have no real free will because the whole thing is known to totality of consciousness, and yet experience complete free will when you are here. Not only feel complete free will, have to use the free will to find that you have no free will. You can't even find without employing what looks like real free will here. It's such a beautiful mixture of opposite designed. It's an opposite, that you should feel you have real choice, real free will, and necessary free will, even for spiritual seeking. And then find out it was all pre-recorded, that there was really no free will. It's exactly an opposite of each other. So the whole principle of opposites applies throughout, in every kind of experience, whether a physical experience, a mental experience, experience of seeking, experience of thinking, experience of choice making. In everything, the principle of opposites is operating. And that's a great principle on which we intensify our experience everywhere. What would happen? Now, this is going in reverse, that we have the negative experiences here. When we go back home, we'll intensify our positive experience. What about the other way around? Supposing now we're sitting here and we go there, have a dip through the points inside the head and see our true home, and then come back because we have not left the body. Then what happens here? We intensify our experience here again. We know it's not real, and yet we are enjoying it. Both ways it intensifies. You come here, you go back, you have a bigger experience of joy, bliss, and whatever they call it. They use so many language to experience the bliss of that place, the great joy, upheaval of an experience in consciousness. When you come down, If you're coming down with knowledge, you have the same experience here. So that is why these enlightened people have the joy inside and the joy outside all the time. They're intoxicated inside when they go there, they're intoxicated outside. And we call them mastanas, intoxicated ones. So this is the total layout, the total way of constructing these experiences of the world is remarkable. I can't praise it enough. And the only thing we say is, thank God it was a dream. When we look at all the negative things and wake up, thank God it's just a dream. And looked so real, it affected us. It affects us. It's supposed to affect us. If it doesn't affect us, how will we have the opposite experience? It is supposed to affect us as if it is real. If it is not a real experience, there will be no effect. It's again a shadow then. A shadow doesn't affect us. Only real things affect us. So we create successive layers of reality. And yet they are successive layers of illusion. But illusion, the word illusion, is very misleading. There was a famous dancer in India, Sarabhai, her name was Sarabhai. A very famous dancer. She had a dance school. And once she invited me to, I was in an official position to visit her to see the dance school. And she was also a spiritual seeker. She invited me after the dance for dinner. And she asked a very interesting question. She said, I want to understand how enlightened people who come to know that this is all illusion, this is Maya, they say it's Maya, Mithya, Maya, destructible, unreal, illusion, how do they live here? How can they have a good time if they know these are shadows? And I explained to her, that's not a correct definition. The Maya does not mean only illusion. It means much more than that. What does it mean? It means that here is a cup of water and I am going to drink this water. Tasted good. Now, when I go to the higher stage, the cup has disappeared. Water has disappeared. Taste is still with me. How come? I had the taste of the water, that's not gone. It's still in my memory. But the glass has disappeared and the water has disappeared. The taste of drinking water, the experience of drinking water is still there with me. In a dream, you have a very pleasant dream and enjoy it. And you wake up. There's nobody there. Pleasure is still there. The joy is still there. How come? How come there's a remnant of something that stays with you even when the rest disappears? Maya does not mean that this glass is unreal. Maya means what you see as a glass is unreal. The experience of the glass is not unreal. It's real and will stay with you even after the glass disappears. It's a very tough definition of the word Maya. It's not pure illusion. It's an illusion that we have things, material things with us, and they are giving us the experience. We have material people with us. They are giving us that experience. And when we wake up, they are not there, but the experience is still there. The experience still stays and the things disappear. On the other hand, we think while the reality of a particular level of consciousness is there, that things are real giving us the experience. And we find out that experience is not connected with those things. If we go still higher into deeper levels of consciousness, we find it was the experience of drinking water that made the glass and made the water. It's the opposite exactly of what we thought. We thought that the things here, people here, they give us all the experience of the world. When you go to the top and see that the experience was built in first, and to have the experience, people were made and things were made. The cause and effect is in the exact opposite way. But we can't see it here. But we can see if you go and touch the right spots in your head through concentration of attention there. It's remarkable. What else can you ask for? I say for a spiritual seeker who wants to find the truth, what else can he ask for? That somebody can tell him there are spots in the head, and you put your attention there. Withdraw the attention from everything else. Put it there, and it'll open up those doors. It'll open up those perceptions, open up reality for you, open up a higher reality for you, and exist in all of us. And no special people who have this. We all have it. Everybody has the potential to be a perfect living master and have all the experiences in this lifetime to go to the top. Why doesn't everybody go? We tied ourselves. Just because things had to look real for us to enjoy them as reality, we took them as real and just got drowned in them. We don't even think that there could be anything else. The world is our only reality, only place to find love, only place to find pleasure, only place to attach ourselves, only place to have desires for, and we attach ourselves. And never find out that there is something inside our own body which can open up the doors. So therefore, it's very lucky that somebody can come in our life called a perfect living master, who is speaking to us from direct experience and not from reading what he read in the books. We can read the books too. The difference between a perfect living master talking to us and anybody learned person talking to us is, a learned person has learned from books, from teachings, from other things, which he relates to us without knowing it, what he is teaching. Whereas a perfect living master is talking directly from the experience he wants us to have. He's not cutting it off. He's not shutting off those experiences in order to come and be like us and then talk to us. A perfect living master is aware of all these levels at all times. He speaks from all levels. And not only that, he speaks to several people, several souls who are at different levels at that time. He doesn't only speak to us. He's doing his work in many levels. So different. A perfect living master looks like an ordinary person. But I tell you, don't be mistaken. He is not that ordinary. Looks ordinary. Functions ordinary. Does everything ordinary, like us. In consciousness, in awareness, totally different. He's constantly aware of the whole show. He sees the whole grand picture at all times. So his work is very different from the work of a teacher. So I keep on telling people he is not a teacher. A perfect living master is not a teacher. Then who is he? How will I define him? I'll define him as the best true friend, as the best beloved and lover that you can ever find. The best person where you can experience pure, true love that takes you right back to your home. So it's a different kind of person altogether. Very lucky that we find perfect living masters still in this state of the world. The world is not in a great state, it's a very negative state. And to be able to find reality in this, through this process of a perfect living master, enabling us to use our so-called free will to seek and find, what else can you ask for? I congratulate all of you as seekers of the truth. I know you'll find it. Thank you very much.